What is up, Wizards fans? We are back with another Believe in Wizards podcast. I'm Matt Modderno. He's Jahadi White. We're going to talk about the offseason, all that good stuff, catch everybody up on things. But just first, Jahadi, how's it going? It's been a while. How's things?
Life's good, man. Life's good. Treating me good, treating you good.
No complaints. Yep.
Yeah, no complaints. No one will listen anyway. So
yeah, exactly. That's the problem. Maybe a couple complaints here about some of the Wizards offseason moves. We'll get to that in a second. But first, we're brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside Hard Iced Teas and BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your summer sports this season. From MLB, golf, UFC, tennis, everything you can think of. I think you can even bet on the Olympics if you want to do that. Get the latest news, stats, scores available for your favorite teams, latest odds, lines, and matchup reports, and player props. Head to the website today and use your mobile device to get on the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, let's just jump right into this here with the first one. Tyus Jones, he was kind of the top free agent on the market. He chooses to sign a 1-year, top remaining free agent point guard on the market. Sorry. He signs a 1-year, $3.3 million deal with the Phoenix Suns. Honestly, probably a really good piece for them and probably helps them compete. Last year, there's kind of something they were missing was an organizer, and that's what he does really well. And the reporting is that he was seeking a $10 million per year deal from the Wizards. Who knows if that's true or not. Doesn't seem unreasonable given what he was making the year before. The Wizards reportedly initially had a deal for 4 second-round picks with the Timberwolves at last year's trade deadline. Came out later that maybe that wasn't really accurate. Maybe it's closer to 2 second-round picks, and the Wizards opted not to trade him because they thought that wasn't kind of enough of a return. And then, he ends up walking for nothing. I guess, seems to me they kind of, fumbled this one a little bit or kind of misplayed their hand here a little bit. Where are you at with the Tyus Jones leaving for nothing situation?
The Wizards sometimes, I'm giving them a C- right now with things just because it seems like it's too many situations at hand that happen like this, with players that left. Now you have Tyus Jones, who's to me, the deal he got with Phoenix, to me, is low. He was a starter last year.
I agree.
He was a starter, and he probably his assist average, I think, was pretty high, and his field goal average was pretty high, which most people not looking for scoring points, but his efficiency is really good. So I think that minimum, I didn't see him as a minimum player. But with that, I felt like the Wizards should have been able to get something from him and not just, now walk away with another player that we got nothing from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just this seems to be what the new CBA is doing to players too. You either make $60 million a year or you're a good player and you end up on the minimum at this point. It happened to Gary Trent. He ends up in Milwaukee for a minimum as well. I think Gary Trent's a really good player. So Tyus, I thought, was a really good player here. Honestly, for the majority of the year, I preferred him running the show to Jordan Poole. I know Poole played better in the point guard role the second half of the year, but Tyus to me was just kind of more solid. Unfortunately, you can't really play them together. We saw last year. So had to move on. I thought they could have tried somehow they were going to sign and trade him for something. But this just is kind of what you get when you hold on to these veterans for too long. I would be taking what I could get from them. I guess risk reward does not getting the 2 second-round picks really break them. But let's say they had gotten 3 second-round picks. Is that really that much meaningfully different? So instead, you get nothing out of the deal here. And I worry that they'll do this with some of these other veteran guys as well. Part of the reporting here when they signed Jonas Valaciunas was that, maybe they could flip him as well. Sean Devaney of Heavy.com said the expectation is the Wizards will try to deal Valaciunas by December when he's trade eligible. So as another guy, you're signing a veteran guy to look to flip him for a team that needs a center at the trade deadline again. If they don't, I guess I'd only be filling so many of these spots with veteran guys with the attempt to flip them. Like, there's a reason teams aren't signing them outright in the first place. So it's just, I'm not really buying the thinking here. To me, I'd be trying to get as many buy low younger guys that maybe have some upside to get markedly better. Like Valanciunas is not going to get better at this point in his career, but they went out and got Sadique Bay, who's the next guy I want to talk about. This move I like a lot more. Honestly, I think Bay's been mostly pretty good for his career. He signs to a 3-year, $20 million contract, which is great. Bay's 25 years old. He is coming off of an ACL tear last March, so if he plays this year, it'll likely only be the second half of the year. There's also probably a world where he may not play at all because they don't want to rush him back and they don't really need him this year. But last season, he averaged about 14 points, about 6.5 rebounds, and is about a 35% career three-point shooter on 6 attempts per game. So good volume. I think he's probably a slightly better shooter than that number indicates. Probably guards 3s and 4s pretty well, maybe some 2s, if they're a little on the slower side. So there's a guy that guards a couple positions and is young enough still at 25 that I think still has some value. Like, this is a dude to me that you could maybe turn into a better haul if he has a good, second season or something like that. So those are the kinds of moves I'd rather see them prioritize than like the old veteran thing, because that just doesn't seem to be working out for them so well so far.
Well, I'm trying to understand the logic of what they're doing.
Yep.
Because when you are getting these veterans, that's that they're at their peak, which they're useful, but they're at their peak. You're not going to get value for them when you trade them off like you think you are. I mean, prime example, what we just saw was Tyus, right?
Yeah.
No matter what, one thing Tyus is not going to just take off. I think he's in a great position that really actually, if you would see a veteran be able to change something, it would be him being in Phoenix. So what I do like that they at least put the players, when the players leave, they give them good situations. Yep. But like you said with Valaciunas, is like what are you going to do? So now you kind of getting another stuck player to me. And right now, the last thing we want to have is stuck players. Other than, like they said, we still going through the process of building. So you need players who can be effective with building, and you're not trying to get superstar players. So to me, I understand that logic. Sadique Bay, he has a lot of upside. He's hurt right now. ACL injuries is not like they used to be. Technology has come along to where now they're literally putting they call it a band around the ACL. They're taking another muscle off the quad, banding the ACL up so strong that it's better than it ever was, and it will never happen again. And so now players are just as athletic coming from ACL injuries than they were before. So, I'm not concerned about that. I do like the pick. I like how much, his field goal percentage doesn't show it, but he's a great outside shooter. He can get downhill. He has a nice turnaround, Jay. He's effective. He's a hometown boy. Yep. And then I like that they got him when they got rid of Denny. Like, I needed some type of replacement for Denny. Sure. I'm not saying that he's maybe a Denny caliber, but I do feel like he can grow into a Denny caliber, maybe even more effective. It depends. But so that made me feel good. So now you deal with the Tyus deal and you're like, but then you go get a situation like Sadique Bay that you're like, okay, well, I'm cool with that.
Also, it's like really trendy right now to have Villanova guys. So having a Villanova guy here is nice. Yeah. We finally got one. He's also played locally, grown up here. He went to DeMatha for a while, finished his high school career at Sidwell Friends. So nice to have kind of some local ties for a player, and it's kind of easy to root for. But this is a guy I really liked at Villanova. Like, the year coming out, I think I had him a couple spots higher than he went drafted, because I remember watching one game against Creighton where he both guarded their point guard and their center for different stretches of the game, depending on what the team needed him to do. Now, he's not going to guard NBA point guards or NBA centers particularly effectively, but some amount of positional versatility. I think the thing for him will just be, can he get and stay healthy? And it's worth a gamble. Like, I would rather you kind of buy low on some of these guys. And he's a guy that if he gets healthy, stays healthy, shoots the ball well, okay, you're going to get more for him than you gave up by signing him to this deal. And that's what I'd be working to do with some of these open roster spots. And unfortunately, they don't have any more open roster spots to do this with, because they've held on to so many of these veteran guys. And I'm worried that that's what they'll do with Malcolm Brogdon next. That's the other guy that comes back in the Denny deal. Brogdon's still a pretty good player. He's just another guy that can't stay healthy. To me, if he starts off the year well, I would flip him immediately for whatever I could get for him, even if it's only a couple second round picks or whatever the case may be, because he's just kind of like, unfortunately for him, the story of his career has been when he will get injured. And you really can't afford to have a guy like that only play 40 games this year and have no trade value for you because he got hurt again. So the minute he looks good and you can get anything from a team that needs a solid combo guard, I'd be wishing him well and helping him pack his bags.
Yeah, if I'm Brogdon, I'm trying to have a good season right away, and if I'm Brogdon, I'm also trying to get out of here too.
Right, only go win somewhere
because I mean the writing's on the wall,
yep.
and right now we just with the Wizards organization can't take that risk of right now end up being stuck with another player, you know, in that situation. So yeah, I agree with you completely. Like Brogdon have a good year, come out playing well, and try to make a move fast as possible.
And just that same thing with like Richaun Holmes. They did some creative accounting to get him back this year, plus a non-guaranteed year the year after. Like he's another guy that's kind of maxed out at this point. Like unless you're throwing him in as like trade filler from a salary perspective to take on another bigger deal, I don't really see that. To me, I'd be focusing as many of those backup big minutes on Marvin Bagley as possible, because at least Bagley's young enough where like if he can stay healthy and show what we saw from him from the first couple weeks he was in DC, maybe you can convince a team that he's worth something, you know, in a trade. Whereas I don't think like Richaun Holmes is going to have much value league wide at this point.
Okay, with Holmes, did we resign him or we picked up the option or what?
Yeah, so they basically let him opt out of the remaining player option to re-sign him to a deal for this year plus an unguaranteed year the following year. And the thought there being like, you're going to get him for this year no matter what, because he was going to opt into this season. And then at least you've given yourself some flexibility if you wanted to keep him as like trade throw in salary wise the following year, or if he played really well and you wanted to keep him on, you know, 12 million a year or whatever, which I don't think he'll play well enough to earn the $12 million probably at this point in his career. So especially 2 years from now. So I don't really love the move, but it doesn't really hurt them in any way. You know, you got him for next year no matter what. And at least if it could be used to your advantage, you have the option to do it the following year. And if not, you just let him go. So it's kind of like a no risk, probably no reward, but at least some potential theoretical reward if it works out that way. So I don't know. Doesn't bother me, but I don't think it's as like cute or creative or cute or exciting as some of, I think, Wizards fandom seem to.
Me personally, I'm not excited about the trade either. I mean, about the move either way. Since we had either way, we're going to keep him. Yep. All right, fine. But when I first saw it and I didn't really look at all the details, I was like, why did we get him back?
Exactly.
You know, he played in times where we just didn't have an option, but you know, we had to rest Bagley. We didn't really have another big at the time. We got rid of Gafford. So was Holmes effective when he was in there? To me, no. So I don't see him really. I don't see him really going out there and making a big change this year. I mean, I feel like he's going to put effort out there.
Sure.
You know, he's going to try to make an impact, which is all he can do. But you know, I think he's reached his peak.
This is the same thing with like hanging on to Landry Shamet for part of the year too. Like, well, we hang on a little longer and he gets hot for a bit. Maybe some team will want to trade for him. Landry Shamet was Landry Shamet, you know, has been Landry Shamet. It's the same thing with Richaun Holmes. Right. No matter what he does this year, somebody has to get some rebounds as a backup big in Washington and some putback dunks and things like that. No other team's going to be like, oh, I had no idea Richaun Holmes was this good a player at this point. Like, let's throw them a first round pick. Like there's just no way that works out. And unfortunately, because he makes the 13 million a year, 12 million and change, whatever it is, it kind of limits you in what a deal for him can look like, unless you're taking up like a team that has the cap room to take him outright is going to just give you a couple second round picks back and you're cool with that. Like, so be it. Or he has to be part of a bigger deal. And even then it's like, you're probably taking back another bad salary just to get some, some assets with it. So it's just, I get they were left in a bad position. They're trying to squeeze like every bit of juice they can out of everybody that's on the roster here. And I do think, they should be trying to do that. You do need a certain amount of veteran players on your roster. Like, I firmly think they believe that. Like, you can't just have only young guys here, but the thinking definitely seems to be from their comments, like they're looking to like show these guys off and feature them for the rest of the league. And I just don't think that that's really all that valuable at the end of the day. If I were going to prioritize roster spots, at least a young guy, maybe I can flip him into something. So that's more how I would go. But obviously, they're the super friends of front officing. So they probably know better than I do at this point.
True. But, I don't care how much super friends you got, and I have a lot of faith in these guys. I still have a lot of faith in the front office. I truly do. Yeah. But you only are as good as your options. Mm-hmm. Right now, in certain areas, we don't really have good options to get any value from. So, like a Rasan's home situation, you may just have to just let him play it out. Mm-hmm. Let him play it out. Okay, now we've got a free spot or whatever. But and then your good options, we already got rid of Denny. That was a good option. We got rid of Gafford. That was a good option. Kuzma can bring a lot in. But
maybe Kispert gets you something, a late first-round pick.
Kispert could get you something decent. I wouldn't even consider Koulibaly even as a trade, doing anything with that. So, okay, now where do you go? You're not out.
Maybe Brogdon you can flip for someone.
Yeah,
maybe if Bagley plays
not
well.
Really cool. So, so think about what options we truly have.
They're stuck.
So we can have a super friends all day. We're just going to have to take our time. Yeah, and do what we can. And what we've done so far, I feel like we won a few, we lost a few.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to happen, right? I think they're playing a little bit of like player chicken, with the trade moves here, and a couple of times you're going to lose on some of those deals. And luckily it's not like one that's going to break them. So, the couple second round picks they didn't get back for Tyus, like, in the end of the day, they've got a ton of second round picks. Like it'll be okay. It's just, they need to pull off these moves on the margin to accelerate this rebuild. And that's Coach David Kaplan asked in the chat here, how much longer is this rebuild process looking like it'll take? And, Bullets Forever writer Greg Finberg posed the same question on Twitter the other day, and he had a whole range of answers from Wizards fans. Like, I just don't buy that Ted will be impatient or will be patient about this indefinitely. So to me, by after that 2026 draft, they better start to show some signs of life.
At the least another 2 years.
Yeah.
Because reality is you're going to have to let some of these contracts just work themselves, right, out to the finality, to their final. Yeah. And that's just, it's most likely going to be some of the contracts that you just don't really have big value with. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, you can have the super friends all day. Mm-hmm. You're only as good as your options.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's one of those things where if you had a ton of talent to trade, you wouldn't be in this position, and any GM would look good, and you wouldn't have needed these guys. But so I think that point's a good one. It just, they're in a situation right now where 17 of 15 roster spots are filled, and they're gonna have to make some choices here. And granted, the guys they're probably gonna cut are margins guys that aren't really needle moving for you anyway, but they bring back Anthony Gill. He re-signs with the Wizards after averaging 4 points, in the 50 games he played last year. He's only played for Washington in his 4-year NBA career. He's over 30 years old at this point. I get you need veteran leadership, but how many veteran leaders do we need at this point? It's Brogdon is veteran leadership. They're even talking about Sadique Bay can bring some leadership. You've got Kuzma bringing leadership. Kispert's been in the league for a while. You've got Valaciunas as a leader, coming in. You've got Richaun Holmes has been around for a while. And by bringing Gill back, it means you're cutting, Eugene Amarui, who at 20, be 28 years old beginning of the season. It's probably not a whole lot left there in terms of upside he hasn't reached yet. Patrick Baldwin Jr. is a stretch big who's never been able to make shots. So that's of limited value in the NBA. Like, he may have to go. There's a world where maybe you cut Johnny Davis and just eat the $6 million in salary or whatever he's making. But to me, like, at some point, I'd rather go find some other talented G leaguer or something like that maybe turns into something, another Jared Butler type. Like Butler may not get you much in a trade right now, but I think we think he's a valuable enough like rotation guard this year. Whereas like Gill's shown he can't do anything really valuable for you on a court that these other guys couldn't just easily do, if not better. So at some point, like I kind of don't like we need veteran leadership so much. Like you need to maximize all of your roster spots and try to flip as many of these guys for any assets you can. Gill will never be flippable for anything. Like you could probably offer him an assistant coaching deal and he might take it at this point. Like no other NBA team would sign Anthony Gill. It's just the fact of the case. And I feel bad shitting on Gill because he's by all accounts like the best dude. It makes me question the strategy.
It's always those type of guys, right? Anthony Gill is not just regular veteran leadership to me.
Okay.
Right. And yeah, is he going to be a better player? No. He's a camaraderie guy, right? He's a guy who keeps the locker room energetic. It keeps good harmony just by his presence. And same way with the coaching staff. Same way with front office. You mentioned put him on a you didn't say anything about these other veterans to put him on as assistant coach. You said it about Anthony Gill. Sure. You even see that.
Yeah.
So it's always one of those guys that kind of you're like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's a camaraderie guy. He's a good people person.
Sure.
Sometimes being a good people person in the NBA, because there's so many egos, so many unique personalities, that you get a good people person, those guys stick around for some reason.
Yeah.
And then they end up going straight to the front office or straight, on the bench for some reason. Anthony Gill is that type of person. Right? And every player needs that guy in the locker room. You have to, because it's so many egos and so many combative personalities. Just that one camaraderie glue locker room guy, team guy, not so much on the floor, but even on the floor, one thing he does, he's a hard work on the floor.
Yeah, he plays hard.
They do make some sort of connection or impact within just the whole organization, team, everything. So, I when I saw they re-signed him, I was like, I get that.
It was not in any way surprising. And I'm not even trying to suggest that I don't think that he's like a valuable use of a roster spot. It's just, you now have 17 people on the roster. 2 have to go. And you've talked about like the other value and veteran leadership that some of these other old guys you brought in bring you. And it's just like, okay, like how much veteran leadership on a team that will win 17 games is enough at a certain point. So I don't want to hear it about a third of the roster of like the great veteran leadership they bring. You're not going to win anything, and that's fine. So you just, how many teachers from the end of the bench do you really need here? To me, like Malcolm Brogdon is by all accounts like this really smart, savvy, leader and veteran locker room presence. He does, maybe it's the Virginia guy thing. They bring the same thing supposedly, except Malcolm Brogdon can also still play. And at some point, I just think you have to kind of start to clear off some of these guys and fill them with dudes that maybe you can flip for stuff. We just talked about how few guys on this roster would have any value from anyone else in the league. Like, would any other team sign Gill? No, probably not. Would any other team sign Amarui? No. Probably not. Would any other team sign Patrick Baldwin Jr.? Probably not. Would any other team pick up Johnny Davis if he were a free agent? Probably not. So, at a certain point, like you got to start consolidating some of these spots and using them for dudes with some upside. Like the 2-ways are interesting. Getting Tristan Vukcevic on a 2-way contract is actually really smart. I actually think there's a lot of value with a Justin Champagnie as like an end of rotation guy who by all accounts is a hard worker and a good dude and looked pretty good in summer league. So like using a 2-way on him is great. The last 2-way spot better go to a dude that's like, oh shit, I see something there. Maybe there's a chance he ends up a roster, player at some point. Like even if it's a Jared Butler level guy, you have to hit on a couple of those end of margin teams. Like every good team in the NBA has a few guys where you're like, oh shit, we got Austin Reeves as an undrafted free agent. Like, we need one of those, and we need them bad.
Yeah, it's you're right. My concern is with the Wizards is that it's 7 through 15.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that like it seemed like we're just not figuring that out. As you know, we've been having a tough time these last 2-3 years with that 7 through 15, and you know, to the point we can't do much with them. Can't really go deep. Right. And then you can't go deep, and then you really can't get any value from 7 through 15. So then we just hold, and then it's too many, like you said, it's too many veterans. So we just holding on to too much, you know. So I agree with
you. Just running down the roster real quick. The guards are basically Poole, Brogdon, Bub Carrington, Jared Butler, Johnny Davis. You know, you could call Sadique Bay a forward or a wing or whatever. Koulibaly's a forward or a wing, whatever you want to call him. Kuzma, Kispert, Sarr, Kyshawn George, Patrick Baldwin Jr., Eugene Omoruyi, Anthony Gill, Jonas Valaciunas, Rashawn Holmes, Marvin Bagley. Like, 2 guys have to go. Who would be the 2 guys you would get rid of? To me, it's unfortunately Omoruyi and Baldwin Jr. at this point. Like, at least Omoruyi we talked about, like, he's going to be the guy that plays hard every practice. He puts it on you. Like, I don't love that he shoots every time he touches it and stuff like that, but at least there was some energy there, and maybe he makes you work for it. And in some of those games, like late in January on a second night of a back-to-back, he brings you some fresh legs and stuff. But those are probably where I would go to clear off some space here. How about you?
I think you have to. Yeah, Omoruyi. And yeah, Baldwin Jr. most likely. Yeah, I mean, Omoruyi, he's not getting. He's unorganized energy to me, right? And I thought he was on the court. I thought he was kind of reel it in, and we able to use that energy toward something to where he can make an impact or effective. And sometimes it's scattered energy, and it's not useful. You know, like you say, he shoots it when you know. I don't dislike him. I like how aggressive he is. I like, you know, but I just feel like it's wild energy. You know, it's an ineffective Patrick Beverley. You know what I'm saying? Ineffective Pat Bev. Yeah. And so you know, so I would go there and just I really want to get let some of this lead weight go for a lot of these vets that we can't do anything with. I think the best move right now for us personally is Bub. I think he's going to come out and show something that I don't even think it's unexpected anymore. Yeah, I think people look and say, okay, we snuck one in. Right. Yeah. So and to me, that at least I feel like I'm getting a little bit of balance. Sure. Because Bub, I can see him playing behind Poole. I can see him playing with Poole.
I agree. Yeah. For anyone who didn't watch Summer League, that's Carlton Carrington, their first round pick that Jahai is referring to. Bub Carrington, 15 points a game in Summer League, about 7.5 rebounds, which is great to see the rebounding from the guard position. 5.2 assists, and he shot 36% from 3. I think for a lot of people that just saw highlights and didn't watch much Pittsburgh, like, he was not a pure point guard for them. When Pittsburgh was good, it was Ish Leggett, that's here from DC, was running the point for them and coming off the bench, and they played a lot together, and Bub was off ball and did some other things. So they let him kind of have the keys a good amount in Summer League, and he was better than I expected kind of right away. And I think that sort of chaotic pickup setting of Summer League, like, the guy just hoops, and I think that kind of naturally fits to his skill set. But I do think there's going to be some learning curve for him, like with okay, now go out and be on ball and run a second unit in the NBA with more structure. So I'm not saying he won't be good. I'm not saying we won't see a lot of stuff. I'm totally with you. I just want fans to be patient when he doesn't come in as a rookie and average, 12 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists like day one. Like, there's going to be some ups and downs here, and they may not play him a ton early while they kind of let him, see things develop a little bit and let the Jared Butlers of the world take some of those early backup minutes. But If he's not playing, a ton by the second half of the year, I think that's a big failing from the org.
He, like you said, by the second half of the year, they have to throw him in the fire.
Yeah.
Because you know what you can get out of him. Like you said, if you just let him hoop, he's going to get you some buckets.
Yep.
Now you start trying to run the offense and got to be, more of a point guard. He's going to have to figure that out.
Sure.
But it's going to be a point to where those two things cross-pollinate. Once they do, I think we got a player we can rock with.
Yep, agreed. I actually think Malcolm Brogdon is like a good mentor for him. I saw a lot of people saying like Tyus Jones would be, but he and Brogdon are like a little closer sidewise. They're both a little more combo guardy. Like that's not a bad player for him to emulate. And the thing I think about with Brogdon is just like sort of always under control and just solid and plays with pace. He's not a crazy athlete. Bub's not like the most explosive player in the world. So like maybe he can learn a few tricks here and there from Brogdon. So I actually kind of think that worked out really well. And Brogdon's already said some nice things about Bub. Let's talk about the other rookie here for a minute. Alex Sarr was not great, I would say, overall in Summer League. We kind of predicted that would be tough for a rookie big to come in and look particularly good. There aren't a ton of examples of guys like dominating as rookies in their first Summer League from the, basically the center position. There weren't really any other real bigs that played on the roster, and we'll get to that in a minute too. But the numbers here, about 5.5 points, a little less than 8 rebounds, 3.3 assists. So I thought the passing was pretty good. That was like the one offensive bright spot for me. 2.5 blocks per game. I thought he was mostly pretty good defensively. He looked a little sluggish early, but he shot 19% from the field, and just it's like a wonky, hitchy, knuckleball-y release right now. He took a lot of weird step back threes and things like that they'll never want him to take. I get like giving a guy some reps in Summer League to just like try some stuff. But we talked about this earlier, like get him a few just like easy buckets, let him roll to the rim. Like I know that's not really been his game so far yet, but like you can't tell me in Summer League you couldn't draw up anything to get him like a dunk or two early or get him a little confidence. Like, the fact that he's like taken more threes than he has shots near the rim in some of these games is a little weird to me, especially when he didn't make any of them early and clearly seemed to suffer from it from conference perspective. Like, so Jahadi, you've been there. You've actually been a center playing in Summer League. I guess just how does this feel if you're Alex Sarr right now? Should we be worried? What did you take from his experience there?
Well, so it's hard to be a center in Summer League anyway. That's tough. But for Alex Sarr, it's not like he didn't get touches, right?
Yep.
That's first. But secondly is how many players or how many coaches truly know what's Alex Sarr game is. To me, I'm watching Alex Sarr and I'm seeing a player who's trying to be what we want him to be instead of just playing within himself, right? I watched him do so much. And I was like, you could tell that's not what he does, right? He's playing like I have to be the man. I saw that he felt like he had to be the man instead of saying, okay, let me play my game and let me try to impact winning, right? So he looked out of control out of there and really wasn't effective because I felt like he was trying to be this second pick NBA player.
Let me show you I can do KD stuff out here.
Yeah, exactly. Right. He's trying to be this super NBA player he watched on TV, and I got to prove to them that that's who I can be. So, because that's who they want me to be. Nah, you got to be you right now.
Yeah. And
you got to be you and impact winning. You got to be you at the best way you can be you. And so now it just looked like I just watched a player who just played outside of himself to where he wasn't playing within himself at all. And he just looked bad. Now, do I believe he's a bad player? No. Do I believe he can do all the things he was trying to do out there? No. Right? Right now, you're big. You can run the floor. You can dunk the ball. You can protect the basket. Right? Do what got you here. Right now, do what got you here and do it to the highest possible way you can do it. right? And just be effective. Then we can grow, because if not, I'm going to think about all the things you can't do, because you keep showing me only what you can't do. And now we're in this situation. Do I believe he's going to be effective for the Wizards? Yeah. Do I believe he's going to end up being a good player for the Wizards? Yeah. Do I believe he can end up being a KD one day? No. Be a Kenyon Martin.
Yeah, honestly, I swear to God, I made that comp to somebody the other week. Just guard the hell out of people, run to the rim, be tough, be physical, dunk some balls,
and
block some shots.
We'll love it all day.
Yeah,
and he just got to play within himself.
Yeah, that would be great. I think that junkyard dogginess of Martin would have been good, and that's what he doesn't seem to have. I was actually more bothered by that, and people rightly pointed out, like, it's probably a strength thing. He doesn't feel strong enough.
I just feel like he's confused of what he's trying to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
he don't know. He doesn't know what the type of player he is.
Yeah, you're bigger, you're more athletic, and it's not like he's a total string bean. Like, he's got a little mass to him. Like, to play with other summer league guys, he shouldn't be getting bullied around too much. Like, okay, Donovan Clingan is just bigger, so you say, okay, that's fine. Clingan's also like a full year older, I think, at this point. So I'm not too worried about some of those things here. But
I did expect better.
Yeah, it just you don't set a guy up to succeed when you're just like, here, go do things. And we've talked about this one a couple times. It was like the Andre Drummond on draft night. They asked Andre Drummond what he saw himself being in the league, and he said Kevin Durant. And it was a little concerning when you heard Sarr say right away, like, no, I'm a 4 exclusively. I don't think him playing the 4 is a bad thing. The same way starting an Evan Mobley at the 4 made sense while he got stronger, and you back him up with a bigger, rim protector for now. But eventually, like, to play the 4, you got to have 4 skills. And I think he wanted to show he has them, and he doesn't yet.
I don't think the coaches knew he didn't have 4 skills.
That should also be concerning.
See, that's my thing. Like, I felt like they were trying to figure out let me see what he does. Let's figure it out. Let's see who he is, what he does.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a bad position to put that kid in.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. Because now he's saying, okay, well, let me show you I can do this, what I can't do. Now look at you.
If you had asked me before Summer League which of their rookies was most likely to come in and just be able to hoop in a like an open structure like that, the answer would have been Bub, because he's that kind of guard. Like, Sarr is a guy that, again, he's not a post player or whatever. He's still, 7 feet tall with guys that were like 6'9" guarding him half the time. You can't tell me he couldn't have thrown up like a 10-foot jump hook over somebody even like once, or if you want him to like face up and try to drive by somebody bigger and slower, cool. He was
at the 3-point line
the whole time,
dribbling in the ball, not going north to south, going east to west, back and forth this way, and and losing the ball. Like, all right, okay, now I know that's definitely not your game, right?
When he
shouldn't even been out there.
No, not like that. I agree completely. Now, 1 or 2 possessions, or this is the way it worked out. You got him a wide open corner 3 with his feet set. I'm not mad at a couple of those looks, but
and we know he can shoot that. He's done that before.
That's fine. Yeah, and even if he misses those and they're good looks, like, I don't care. It was just more about like him seeming hesitant to want to be anywhere near the paint, and I think that's more worrisome than anything. Like, I don't know. I've never been the biggest player on a basketball court at any level, but when I have a smaller guy guarding me, I want to take him in the post and just bury him. You immediately yell mouse in the house and ask for the ball, not let me take him out to the perimeter. Now, again, if it was the Donovan Clingan game and he just didn't know what to do or didn't have answers and he tried to take him away from the hoop and he missed more jumpers than normal, like, okay. But it was the whole Summer League, all 4 games, there was some amount of that.
But in any of the games he played or any highlights you've seen, have you seen him do anything perimeter wise as far as like taking somebody off the dribble, getting downhill, turn around, jump? Have you seen any of that?
Not have it end well. No, not really. I mean, there's, if he does like a turnaround baseline jumper from 12 feet, like, I'm not mad at it. He made a few of those.
But I thoroughly researched him. I've seen him hit corner 3s. I've seen him run the floor. I've seen him dunk, rebound, dunk, grab it off the rim. I've seen an energy guy.
Yeah.
An impact winning type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I didn't see a highly skilled Anthony Edwards.
No, no, God, yeah.
So why go in the summer league and try to be that?
Right.
And why did the coaches let him do that to himself?
Mm-hmm.
That hurts the team, hurts the kid.
Yep. At the end of the summer league experience, if you want to let him goof around a little bit, like, you know, okay, like I'm not too worried about that. But the short roll passing was like, I think, like the one bright spot for him offensively. Yeah. There were one or two possessions where he got the rebound and actually looked okay dribbling it across half court in transition. Like that was kind of interesting. But like there's enough basketball IQ there to know, like, okay, this is the right play. Here's the dump off. Like, so if you know those things, you probably know what is a terrible shot. And that's on the coaching staff. I'm not, it's summer league. I'm not reading too much into it. So I don't want to make this an indictment of somebody else, but I don't think a lot of people watched the Capital City Go-Go last year. And Cody Toppert was supposed to be like this offensive guru. He was brought into Memphis a few years ago to fix Penny Hardaway's offense. And they eventually scrapped it after a certain amount of games because the guys weren't picking it up. And they did not look particularly well organized on the Go-Go last year. And I didn't see anything particularly awe-inspiring in Summer League. And again, it's Summer League. You don't have a ton of time to practice and put stuff in, so be it. But I'm just wondering if, like, is Cody Toppert really the guy to take these guys in a G League setting where they're not all together all the time? Guys are called up and down. There's a revolving door of faces and who's in the lineup those nights. Like, that's really tough to run very structured stuff when you don't get to work on it together. So, like, is he maybe a guy that's better on the end of the Wizards bench coming up with something really creative for the big team when you have kind of the same set of guys every night, as opposed to like teach these young guys how to run, even just the basics. Like, so sometimes it's about like putting your personnel in the right spots. And I don't know enough to say. I'm just simply asking the question of, like, we've got a year and a summer league of sample size of him and the guys playing under him not looking like super sharp. So it's a growing pains. Maybe it's a first time head coach thing or whatever. It could all work out just fine this year with different personnel. Like, who knows? It could be any number of factors, but I didn't see anything in summer league where I thought, like, wow, they're running some good shit right now.
Well, I mean, it's summer league, and summer league is pretty much pickup ball, right?
Sure.
First of all. Secondly, if he's coming in with some a tough offense to really learn and some complicated stuff, you're not going to be able to implement it by summer league anyway.
Yeah.
Secondly, you're going to have to get so many players to buy into it. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to get many summer league players to buy into it because you guess what they're buying into? Yeah. I gotta be able to make this team so I can get into a training camp. Mm-hmm. Right? So I'm not going to run off 12 screens and I got to put points up. I got to get rebounds. I got to impact. I got to do me. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's not the place to try to implement some type of, Albert Einstein offense. Right? So it's just not it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's nothing against the coach. It's nothing to say, okay, he's a bad coach. He doesn't know how to implement the offense. I don't think that's the case. Mm-mm. It's personnel. When you're putting into something that's really complicated, it takes time. You have to have the right personnel in. You have to, prime example is Golden State. Golden State wasn't, none of those guys on Golden State were top players when they went there. Stephen Curry wasn't a major player. Mm-hmm. Draymond Green wasn't a major player. Yep. Clay wasn't a major player. They became that but the thing is, when you don't have major players like that, you can implement stuff in. You can slowly work it in. Now it's part of the system. Now the players are growing from it, and then they're becoming something. So it's tough to do that. Mm-hmm. When you have players who already kind of say, okay, well, I need to do this year. This is what, you got veteran players that want to play their own way. It's tough to start implementing the 2004 triangle, 2024 type triangle, so that's the issue.
Just switching like kind of analogies here a little bit, but there was decades ago, or a decade and a half ago at this point, Mike Martz was the coach of the St. Louis Rams, and they talked about how he had like 600 plays in the playbook. And he was like this genius offensive mind, but like guys couldn't grasp it. And they had to like cut out like 80% of the playbook at a certain point to like really simplify and just like, let's focus on being really good at certain things here. And then we add stuff to it as opposed to like, here's the whole playbook. And it never makes no sense. Said Tyler Funk said that this was also Keefe's offense in the final summer league game. I don't know that Funk knows what Keefe's offense is as a guy that only played on the G League team last year. Maybe that's what they're saying, but I think my point is more about sometimes guys are not the right people to convey certain messages. Here is the very streamlined, simplified offense. And I'm not saying this is the case. It's just at some point I'd like to see them run something. And we talked about like, and same person made the same comment, never makes no sense, said, I think the summer league goal was to put players in uncomfortable positions and see what they need to improve on. To me, that's what training camp and things like that are for. That's what summer workouts are for. In a game setting, you want to do a few of those things. I have no problem with it. But how well did it work out for Johnny Davis when they were like, you are now a point guard in summer league with no other real point guards on the roster? It doesn't work well. And I think confidence is more important for these guys at this stage, and getting them a few easy buckets is the same example I've used on the pod like a handful of times at this point, if not a dozen times, was the Pacers one year took plays from the Arizona playbook and said, we're going to run these for Benedict Mathurin because he'll be comfortable and they're looks he's used to scoring out of. And we want him to get like a few easy buckets and ease his way into summer league. And they did everything they could to make that transition as smooth as possible for him. To me, that's way more important than finding out like, oh, no, we're definitely sure Alex Sarr can hit step back threes from 27 feet. So that may very well been their goal. I just think it's stupid personally. They know more than I do. They're entitled to their opinion. I'm entitled to think that doesn't seem to set up a center, especially for a lot of success.
I just think you got to ask yourself, what was their primary agenda for summer league? Mm-hmm. Was it evaluation, or was it like, hey, let's put together this crazy maze and see who can come out of it? Like let's see, like, what is your primary goal? To me, most teams' primary goal for summer league is say, okay, let's see what we have in these particular players and see if we can bring them to training camp, and maybe we can find a diamond in the rough. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's the first thing, and say, what was the primary agenda for summer league in the first place? To me, when you implement a system, you do that during training camp. Mm-hmm. All right, you have the time. You can go over religiously, reps. Right. So I don't think that was the time to. I think summer league, you have to evaluate players and see what players that you can rock with, bring into training camp.
I talked to enough coaches at the high school, prep school, even collegiate level, and a lot of them talk about early in seasons, especially, okay, here is one or two things I want from you, freshmen. Do this. Show me you can do that. And then we add a third thing. Show me you can do that. We add a fourth thing. You build up from a baseline. We think you can do these couple things. Okay, you've shown us you can do them. Now we'll give you a chance to show something more. Oh, you can't do that yet? Okay, well, maybe we stick with where you're at. Give you another try here in 8 games, 10 games, whatever. Not, show us you can be Jason Tatum your first game out of the gate. It's wild to me. But the other rookie, Kyshawn George, I thought was probably better than expected. He was supposed to be the most raw of the group, averaged under 10 points a game at Miami as a freshman, put up 9.5 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 48% from 3. I think his shot looked very translatable. Still kind of slow, got to grow into the body here a little bit. He tried on defense. Like, I think that's all you want from a guy like that in summer league at this point. So I have no complaints. I thought he looked more good than bad. And the bad stuff was stuff you expect to look bad. So I found his performance pretty good overall.
Yeah. So I wasn't disappointed with many of the guys on the summer league team. I mean, we didn't win a lot of games, but I wasn't disappointed. Sometimes we looked out of sync as a group. I didn't see us look out of sync as much individually outside of Sarr. So, I think George played within himself. And that's all you want to see. If a guy play within himself, we can grow and it can still be effective playing within himself. Mm-hmm. So I don't think the guys who I was looking for to really evaluate, to make it, see what impact they would make and what type of game they play, I think we did a good job.
The thing with George is like part of the eval was he'll eventually be like a playmaking wing and he can pass and dribble and all this kind of stuff. And there were definitely more than a few times where he dribbled into traffic against smaller guards and got stripped. And like those are the kinds of things I'm okay with seeing because that was the eval and it didn't work. And now you've learned, okay, we've got to really keep tightening that handle, whatever. But a lot of the times it was, hey, just hit an open shot when it comes to you. Do that too. Mm-hmm. So there was a balance there. And it's also in a lesser role. It wasn't like if he had really struggled across the board and they were still being like, hey, go try to like cook some guy on the perimeter. And I would have had a problem with that. I think that's going back to the thing with Sarr. Like he was struggling with the basics and not getting much rhythm and easy looks and things like that. So don't let him do the hard stuff right away. So,
I feel like with Sarr is when you realize you're struggling, just play hard, make an impact.
Yeah, get to the free throw line, something,
right. I just felt like he kept trying to be someone he's not over and over again, and it didn't click. That was my concern. Like, when is it gonna click?
Yep.
So now my worry was, okay, does he believe that that he's this type of player?
If he does, hopefully this was the reality check for him that he's not yet, at least.
I was waiting for it to happen during summer league.
Game 2, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I still think that by the beginning of the summer, which is still months away at this point, we're going to see him back to basics, just be solid. But I want people, if they want to go look up the receipts here, the minute he got drafted, I said I would be very shocked if he started at the beginning of the year here.
Yeah.
And I got a good amount of grief for that. And now it's, oh, no, he'll come off the bench and Kuzma will start at the 4. It's like, well, I wonder where that idea came from because it's just, maybe he does. Maybe he grows so much in the next 3 months that he's ready to do that. It's just, this is not a complete player there yet. I think he'll get there. I'm really not worried. I thought the fact that he could play like a lot of different roles for them defensively and clean up for other people was great to see. The effort was a little sluggish early. He looked tired almost at the beginning of that first game. He picked it up. He had that one sequence where I think he blocked like 11 people in one possession somehow, obviously hyperbole, but he was kind of all over the place when he wanted to be. So I think that's really what you're getting from him early is just like a versatile defensive wing or defensive forward. And that's enough for me in year 1. Just grow from there and let him turn into rotation pieces. He gets stronger and he cleaned up the shot and all that other kind of stuff.
Right. And right now that's what you want from him.
Yeah.
Everything else can grow and get better from there.
The one that was more concerning to me and I thought would come in and have a good summer league was Tristan Vukcevic. He only played the 1 game and he was just objectively bad in it. He looked slow and out of shape and it was just weird. So I don't know if maybe like he was dealing with an injury, so they shut him down or something, but that was a disappointment to me because I thought we'd get some like real minutes of them together throughout the course of summer league. And you could kind of see what a 2-man, front court like that could look like. But, obviously wasn't meant to be.
He's still a mystery for me. He's the great mystery.
Yeah.
Had a good end of year season and you saw, what he could do. So I can't wait to see more, to see if it's actually live or is a Memorex,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now I'm waiting to see what's more. And then I'm like, like summer league, like the 1 game, I'm like, is this Memorex? But it's a part of me saying, all right, I see the skills. I know what he can do. And it's like you get him in pops. You haven't seen him all season, then he pop out of nowhere and then he's effective, right? He plays well. Now you get this little pop in summer league and it's really bad. So it's like these, alakazams. I'm trying to see, all right, what is this guy? Right? Because right now it's just like he's Mr. Alakazam and he's throwing me for a loop. So he's just a mystery for me right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Like, does he get some G League minutes at the beginning of the year? Like, I don't know how he plays in this front court. He's not playing over Valaciunas, Holmes, Bagley, or Sarr or Kuzma. And
you don't think he'll play over Bagley?
I don't think so. I think they're committed to trying to flip people like Bagley. So he's going to have to play some minutes to show that he can do anything for another team. I'm not saying that for the whole year, but at least early in the season, I don't see him getting in a ton. So maybe you do, he's the two-way player. You can only play him up 40, or it's 50 games now. So early in the year seems like the best time to try to do that while you move on from some other guys. We've covered the whole roster at this point. Last thing, and we'll close this out here. The over-under is on 22.5 wins for the Wizards this season. Every year I take the over, and every year I look stupid for doing so. By like the 20-game mark of the season, I feel like I've already blown it. So I am definitely going to take the over, or excuse me, the under. It was a gut reaction there to take the over. It's a Freudian slip. 22.5 wins. I will take the under definitively.
Yeah,
I'm on record here. Yeah. You're in the same boat?
Hell yeah. I mean, not in a bad way.
No, that's the goal. Right?
I'm looking at what we have. Hey, if I'm wrong, I'll be all right with it. But I'm taking the under right now.
I think that's a perfect way to say it, because if they're over, it's because some of these guys looked really good and really popped, and Koulibaly is the truth and all this kind of stuff. And I could live with that. But there was a lot of like, oh, they signed Valaciunas. Are we too good now? Are we going to be too good to tank? It's like, people watch these dudes play in the last 5 years.
What are you comparing it to?
Right, exactly.
Like, if you think about what you're comparing it to, the East, comparing it to the Celtics, comparing it to the Knicks. Right. Think you got to look at the big picture here. If you looking at it like this with blinders on, you'll mess around and get too excited. I mean, I'm the ultimate Wizards fan.
Right.
But I have to look at what's comparable. And we have some work to do.
There's yes, the road is still unpaved for this team and where they're going to go, and they need to be bad again in this year's draft. There's a bunch of dudes that they could like and take in the top 6, 7 and feel good about. So even if you're not the worst team this year, which would be a bit of a bummer,
we're a better team than we were last year now.
I do not see how, personally, to be honest with you. The Tyus Poole fit didn't work out, but Tyus is still a good player, and Denny was probably the best player on the team for the majority of last season, especially that last half of the year probably. So no.
Could this team beat last year's team?
I think honestly it's probably close to a wash. It's not a marked difference to me, but because they did address some of the rebounding and stuff like last year that was terrible, but
coaching, rebounding.
Yeah.
Right. So now that's the first question you ask yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Where did last year team finish? Right. Exactly. All right. So, all right. Now are you taking the over and under?
Yeah. If they win about 20 games, I think that's about right. And I don't think this front office will let them win that much more than that. So the under seems like the smart play here. I'm actually surprised the 22.5. That seems high to me, given what Vegas usually does. So I think last year was 24.5. So maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, the under seems like the smart play.
Yeah.
One other one for you real quick, just because it popped into my head. The Wizards, Team USA's 3x3 basketball team was eliminated from the Olympics today. That's the second time it's been in the Olympics.
Barry's son?
Yeah, Kenyon Barry, Jimmer Fredette, Kareem Maddox that played at Harvard. They lost 22-6 today, or 21-6 today. They were without Jimmer Fredette, who got hurt earlier in the tournament. You only get 4 guys, so when you lose someone, it's really impactful. They really should have like a 5th injury sub kind of thing. But Jimmer's 35 years old, kind of an undersized player for 3-on-3. Like typically the winning formula is a bunch of switchable 6-7 guys who can dribble, pass, shoot, but also guard the perimeter and the paint. They didn't really have that for Team USA. Kenyon Barry is like only a slasher. He's also 30 years old. Kareem Maddox only had one season at Harvard where he averaged double-digit points and was a starter for only one of his 4 years. He's 34 years old. And Dylan Travis is 31 years old and had never played a minute of Division I basketball. So I saw a lot of people saying, like, why don't we just take 4 NBA guys and throw them in there? It's not like the 5-on-5 Olympics where just the USA qualifies and then they can pick any team. These 4 players have to qualify to play in the event. So, like, we couldn't just take, hey, Tyrese Halliburton, you're not playing on the 5-on-5 team, want to play 3-on-3. It's got to be guys that are committed to playing year round. And that's during the NBA season. So there's got to be some things you can do. There are a lot of like guys that, like a Marcus Morris or somebody that is probably not going to get picked up by an NBA team this year. Could you sell him on being on an Olympic team? Or like a Landry Shamet, if he doesn't get picked up this year, could you go get one of those kind of guys? I don't know, or Isaiah Thomas, who's always trying to get back in the NBA. Like, again, he's kind of small for 3-on-3, but there's just got to be a little bit way to get better talent than this, I would think. A couple really good G Leaguers. Could you pay them $100,000 to play for Team USA? It's more than they'd make in the G League.
You know, I was watching it, and we were undersized, and that, you know,
they were too small.
With that big 3, I mean, with that pick, that 3-on-3, it's all just pick and roll.
Exactly. They killed Jimmer Fredette in the paint.
And they get down, and we were just too small to get downhill compared to other teams, right? The other teams use height.
Yep.
You know, we were trying to shoot our way out, you know,
exactly,
to beat everybody out. So the problem is, you can name all these guys to play, but they have been able to play together for a while, right? It's like when you go play pickup, you have your 3 you always pick, right? And you know, everybody know what everybody does in sync. So to me, what you should do is get the top big 3 team.
I like that.
Get the top big 3 team that's been winning everything. They're now in super sync. They've been winning every year.
I dig that.
And put them in the USA basketball. You know, that's who you put in there.
Kind of like that. That'd be fun. Yeah, let them play during the course of the year like that too.
I mean, because they literally played the toughest 3-on-3 all summer. When the NBA is over, and they playing tough. Big 3 is probably the toughest 3-on-3 league you can play. The most competitive, right? The most you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable the entire time, right? So get the big 3 team and put them in there.
The first place big 3 team right now has Gerald Green, Corey Brewer, so 2 switchable wings who can pass, dribble, shoot, and defend. Garlon Green, I don't actually know who that is, and Jalen Johnson, Javier Carter, and they're coached by Gary Payton. I would love to see Gary Payton coaching a 3-on-3 team in the Olympics.
Come on.
Second place team, Three's Company, has Michael Beasley. I think he would kill in a setting like that. That's actually really good. Sean Williams, that played at Boston College, is on the second place team. You know, Reggie Evans, like some of these guys are a little older, and maybe that's not the move, but like Michael Beasley would go, maybe the other stuff with him is the question mark, but he would be unguardable in a situation like that. And he's the right guy because he can guard on the perimeter, he can guard in the paint. I like that idea a lot. Is just go pick the best guys, and they're used to playing 3-on-3 and what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah,
that would be cool. I would actually like that, and they're guys people would want to see play. Like I would go watch a 3-on-3 Olympic team if I had heard of the guys. I mean, I watched them anyway, but I'm a sicko. Like the average person would go watch them more.
I think the viewership just alone.
Yeah, right. It'd be more interesting. Quincy Miller, that played at Baylor, is a 6'11" forward. He's on the third place team. You know, people like that would be super intriguing in this setting. And it's not a knock on Jimmer. You know, if he was the 4th guy on a team like this for some shooting and some spacing, I'm all good with it. It's just the other 3 guys is a little bit more questionable to me. So I'm glad we talked about that because I think that's the way to handle it. So Fran Fischilla is the president of the 3x3 basketball team for Team USA. So hopefully he's listening to this. And
don't talk to Ice Cube, Fran Fischilla.
Yeah, let's be smart. The next Olympics is in LA in 2028. So we're the home country. We can't be like losing in the qualifying round here. So they better bring it next time around.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Jahadi, that's all I got. Any parting words or anything here?
No, man. Enjoy always.
All right, everybody. This is the slow part of the summer. So if there's stuff you want us to talk about on the show, let us know. Maybe do a mailbag or something, take some of your questions. But you know the drill. If you're watching on YouTube, click that little like button for us. Rate, review, subscribe. We always appreciate that. The iTunes reviews really do help people find the show. So thank you for all that. And we'll read those on the show anytime somebody leaves one. We're presented by betonline.ag, and we will catch you all next time.
Peace.